Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the TINHIFI T4 Plus space station. I'm also going to take this opportunity to basically show all of the iems that TINHIFI has launched in the last, let's say, year or so, which have been following this newer tendency in their tuning philosophy, which is a more harmonish focused tuning. And there's been a number of models: T3 Plus, T2 DLC, the T4 Plus, the new one. This is the original T4, which I thought would make sense to also have it here to compare. And then on this end, we've got the C2, the C3, and the TKZK Oranos, which is a subsidiary company of TINHIFI, so it also made sense that it was here. Anyway, on to the space station. This is the box, simple, usual kind of stuff that TINHIFI has gotten us used to. The iems themselves came over there. Inside, it brings this carrying case, which I am not using. I prefer that square style of case which I've got there. Tips, and it brings a decent enough cable. I mean, the cable is actually not a bad cable. It's a decent enough cable, 4-core. I just wanted to use that particular one over there, which is silver plated, which I like more. So that's why I'm using it. But honestly, there wasn't much need to change the cable. There's no difference sonically between one and the other. I just like that cable, and I just think it looks better. Anyway, this is what it brings. Simple, straight to the point, no frills, just good old-fashioned solid accessories, and that's that. Okay, what does the T4 Plus bring to the equation as a novelty? It's using a CNT, a carbon nanotube driver, and that straight away enables me to here's my NX7, which I used for the majority of the listening. I used it, and I've been using it a lot as well now with the Tooth Ear Shio as my deck. Amazing little deck. Anyway, sorry about that. The philosophy, at least in my opinion, that TINHIFI has adopted over the last couple of months is one of going for a Harman style tuning, which is safe. It's going to be liked by a large crowd of people. But what they've done, which is interesting, and I think few people have picked up on that, is they've basically done the same tuning. And when I show you the graphs in a second, you'll understand. The graphs are almost identical. There's very, very small differences. But they've changed the driver diaphragm. By changing the driver diaphragm, although the tuning is basically the same, there will be differences in sound, and there are differences in sound. Okay. The T3 Plus was the first one to use this harmonish approach to the tuning. It was, and it still is, in my opinion, a very nice sounding IEM. At the time where the Aria was probably the only go-to option under $100, this came and joined it and became another possible option in that market, or in that segment of the market. Nice shell, it's got a nice enough LCP driver. If I have to flow it, maybe a little bit more extension up top, but by nature of the LCP driver, it's what it is. But it does have this nice warm tonality. It's got this very nice old-fashioned kind of sound going for it. It's a very easy listening IEM. Okay, then they launched the T2 DLC, which they used again the venerable shell, TINHIFI shell, but this time sporting a DLC driver, diamond-like carbon. And again, the tuning, although similar, again the sound was very nice. A little bit more detail up top compared to the T3 Plus. more twinklies, more sparklies, I like saying. The bass seems to be a little bit more laid back, although it's a little bit quicker than on the T3 Plus. But overall, very, very satisfying sound. Its only real issue is, in my opinion, the shell. It either fits you and you like it, or it doesn't fit you and you're not going to get the best sound out of it, period. Okay. Then later in the year we had a sequence of C2, which used this nice all alloy shell sporting a PU and LCP driver, and again the tuning was done in a way that was a little bit reminiscent of the T2 DLC. Clean, very detailed, very sparkly, and at the price of under $30. I mean, it was really, if there is a problem or an issue that dictated its more success, was the fact that you had the likes of the 1 ear and you had the likes of the 7 hertz zero, and now more recently the truth ear holla, that all of them are also very, very good iems, but especially the 7 hertz zero and the 1 ear, in my opinion, they are not superior to the C2. No way. The lower cost is seen straight away by the lower choice of materials in terms of the shell. So the Shio, the Truth Ear Ola, I think is the only one that I would probably say trades blows with the TINHIFI, with the C2, but ultimately the sound of the C2 is very good, very correct. There's no real flaws that you can point at it, okay? At the same time that they launched the C2, they launched basically the C3, which, I see that, it's got a PU and LCP. So LCP, DLC, PU and LCP. This is the C3, which uses a shell very, very reminiscent of the shell used in the T3 Plus, as you can see. Very reminiscent. Very, very equal. I would perhaps even say it's almost the same shell, but it's not. This used also a PU and LCP, but in a different grading or different relation. And the tuning was done more along the lines of what you have here on the T3 Plus, so not as detailed, but it's warmer. Okay, so it's up to each one's individual taste. I personally also think it's great. It's got sounds. Honestly, there's none of them I dislike. None of them. I think they all sound really good. Okay, so this has got again a more warmer sounding signature, nice organic. The timbre, the tonaly, it's more old school. Okay. Let me just untangle this wire, yeah. Okay, there we go. More or less the same time that the C3 and the C2 came out, TKZK, which is a subsidiary of TINHIFI, launches the Oranos. And this one kind of went very unnoticed, very, very unnoticed. Again, a shell which is very reminiscent of the C3 and of the T3 Plus. But this time it's using a CNT driver, carbon nanotube driver, something very similar to what you see in the likes of HANA 2021, Oxygen, the original Blano 3, and many, many others. Anyway, the tuning here, again, is a tuning which follows the more warm, kind of old school, lush, sound. So C3, T3 Plus, and of the three, I would probably take this one. I mean, the differences are minimal. Okay, these two, in my opinion, they do offer better performance than the T3 Plus. So by default, you could say that then these two are options which make more sense as compared to that, especially because that's $65, that's $49, this is $50 something, so they are cheaper, offering the same or more performance. So nice, warm, old school kind of sound. All right, fine, that's it. What is the T4 Plus. The T4 Plus is a marriage of these two bass signature types. So you have the sparkly cleanliness and detail of the T2 DLC and C2, coupled with the nice, warm, organic, old school feel of the bass and of the mids and of the voices and instruments that you get in the T3 Plus, C3 and Oranos. And I think by saying that, I've basically just already said everything. It's got fantastic bass, clean, detailed. Fast enough. It's not. There's good impact. Drums hit and they stop. The decay is very, very quick, so it doesn't linger. It doesn't stay around and rumble perfect. Female voices and male voices are very well done, both of them. No signs of sibilance, no aggressiveness, no harshness in instruments, in any string instruments. They all come across very nicely. Percussion, perfect. So drums, anything that, basically you're hitting any type of instrument that's going to be hit or scraped, or it does it beautifully. Very nice sense of spaciousness, of that 3D effect that, for example, we have an IEM at this price of the T4, which does that very well, which is the Olina and the Olina SE. And that is, in essence, the main competition to this. So, great bass, great mids, highs have got more than ample extension to keep up with everything over here. Fantastic. Honestly, there's really nothing in terms of the frequency range that I can point out. In terms of the technicalities, I would have liked a little bit of a wider stage. I would have, but it's fine. It's acceptable. Imaging, again, I think the imaging could have been slightly better. I get the sensation that the imaging on the T2 DLC and on this on the T2 DLC for sure, the imaging there is a little bit better than here, a little bit better. On the C2, not so much. Detail retrieval, micro and macro details, that's not an issue there. That 3D effect, that spaciousness, it's also not a problem there. Very, very nicely done. It's got a good sense of spaciousness, definitely. This is basically what can be said about the T4 Plus. Good frequency spectrum response, good technicalities, very well implemented in terms of the driver. The CNT driver used here is you can see it's a high quality CNT driver. Definitely is. You definitely notice differences between this driver and the driver on the Oranos. I would be very, very surprised, honestly, if it was the same driver, but I don't think it is the same driver, because it just, there's a different. Fair enough, you could argue that's a resin shell, the Oranos, and yeah, we got a metal shell. Yes, that is a valid point. But honestly, I don't think it's the same driver. I really don't. The issue here with the T4 Plus, again, will be fit. While the fit on the T3 Plus, on the C3 and on the Oranos is flawless because of the nature of the shell, this bullet style shell is always going to be an issue. Even the C2, although it's metal, it fits beautifully because it's still got a more normal form factor to it. Okay, so yeah, I guess that in a nutshell says it. Compared to its predecessor, the T4 Plus, the T4, sorry, it's a superior IEM. It's as simple as that. Superior way, superior, especially superior in the mids. It's not so much the bass, because that also sports a CNT driver. It's not so much the bass that's the issue, or the transition from the bass into the mids. No, it's more the upper mids, the way they are done here and the way they are done there. Much cleaner, much more detailed on the Plus. And the extension past 10K as well, yeah, is superior. So, okay, if you consider that this one has already been around since 2018, 2019, the T4, 2019, I think. Yes, it's held out pretty nicely, and it's a good IEM. And if you have it, I'm not going to say no, you must go buy the T4 Plus now because that's the thing to. No, not really. I don't think we need to go that far. It is a good IEM, and it's still very capable nowadays. The T4 Plus is a better IEM. That's the reality. Its biggest competition is of course the Olina, and there I didn't compare it here on purpose, and I will leave it to your discretion. Listen to one and listen to the other, and then you decide. Personally, I think they are very, very equal. That's my opinion. But I don't want to continue too much with that. What I did want to say, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the review, is that this array of iems that TINHIFI has, and priced at the values that they have, I mean, they end up being very close to each other. Just the T4 Plus actually stands out more. But like I said, we're talking about $65 here. We're talking about $55 to $60 there. We're talking about $30 there. We're talking about $45 to $50 here, $50 to $55 here. So these four at least are very closely priced. Okay, then the C2 and the T4 Plus are the ones which will be the outliers. They all have a very similar tuning. Okay, they all will have a very similar sound under many circumstances, or under most of the time. Yes, there are two distinct groups. One which is a more detailed group, which is T2 DLC, T4 Plus, and C2. The other second group, the T3 Plus, the C3, and the Oranos, are more darker sounding, not as detailed up top. But we are not talking huge there now differences here. Please keep that in mind. The nice thing about this is that you can definitely, and if you have a bit of if you have an opportunity to actually have access to these iems, I do invite you to go listen to them, and to then see, and if you can pick up on the differences in timbre and tonality between each one of them, because they all are using different diaphragms. You will notice definitely the sound here has that. This is going to sound wrong, my choice of word, but LCP drivers, you can sometimes think of them as being a little bit sluggish, okay? But it's not. They're a cool, lazy presentation. Let's put it that way. CNT drivers, they've got, so here and here, they've got this authority to them, especially in the lower frequencies and the early mid range, not so much the upper mid range. They've got this authority to them, which you notice that it's like it's got presence. You can pick up on that very nicely. The DLC on here and the implementation of the PU LCP over there. The DLC, you notice it's very, very clean, it's very detailed, very, very. That's definitely an easy thing to pick up on there. The C3 with its LCP driver, composite driver, and the C2 with its LCP PU composite driver. Like I said, this has got more that kind of detailed upper end sparkle. This one falls within that second group of a more lush, more lazy sound that you get as well in the T3 Plus. And that's it, guys. I think this is more than sufficient to position well the T4. I liked it. I really enjoyed the IM. I think it's a fantastic IM. The only two things that you have to keep in mind are its fit, because of its form factor, if it's something that will suit you or not. And then of course at $100, I've seen it actually at a little bit over $100, $110. At the price range that it has, it's got some tough competition. And I mean, if I had to compare it with the likes of, for example, a Let's Shure D13, this any day. If I have to compare this with, for example, a BGVP Melody, this every day. Its real only true adversary is the Olina SE or the original Olina. And I like I said, I prefer not to get too much into that, because that was not the idea. Listen to it, compare it, and decide. If you guys ultimately do want me to then make a comparison between the Olina, then I will do it, obviously, but that was not the idea here. All right. Anyway, guys, I'll show you now the graphs, and I'll catch you later. Okay, guys, this is the graph section now for the T4 Plus. And let me just start by clearing up things here a little bit so that we can make a little bit more sense of what is going on. But you will see, I'll put them back up again at the end, and you will see that they all are very, very closely matched. Anyway, this is the graph for the T4 Plus. And I think it's very much self-explanatory for the sake of comparison. And again, I just want to make sure that you guys understand this is not a comparison, and I did not compare it directly to the Trapone or Lina, but I will do it if you guys really do want me to do it. Okay, that is the Trapone or Lina, and let me just change its color. Okay, that's the Trapone or Lina, and you can see the tuning is very similar. There's a little bit more bass on the T4, and it's audible, but it's just the balance of the way that the Olina has been done, which makes it sound a little bit larger than life, while on the T4 you have more authority. Okay, but I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay, so this is the graph of the T4. Nice sub bass, nice weight, in which it glides into the mid bass and then goes into the mids. Very nice and progressive pin again, almost peaking at 3K. It peaks at around 2.8. Yeah, keeps itself nice and smooth, peaks and then drops, extension past 10. Fine, perfect. Really no real flaw. First graph I'm showing you now is the original T4. It's not so much in the bass where you see the differences. It's in this area here where you will notice that, not even the 5K peak is a real issue. It's in this area here that you will notice that the female vocals sound a little bit more recessed, and there's not as much extension up top. That's where the two differences between the two of them are. Ultimately, the T4 Plus is a better tuned and better sounding IEM. It's more complete. Okay, but the T4 wasn't a bad IEM, at least by no means. Okay, the next one I'm going to show you now is the T3 Plus. Again, very similar in the way the bass profile is done, the pina, the way it peaks and maintains. The dip here in that 5K area is nice because there's no real sibilance, okay? But then although you see some info past 10, it's not as clean or sparkly as the T4 Plus is. So that's quite noticeable. Okay, the next one that's up now, excuse me, this next one is the Oranos. Shares the same kind of CNT driver. And again, same bass profile, again the same dip at around the 5K area, very similar, just a little bit less information up top, which is again noticeable. So you could consider it almost to be a darker sounding T4 Plus. Okay, next one is the T2 DLC. Okay, T2 DLC, there we go, T2 DLC. Very similar sounding to the T4 Plus, very similar. And let me just change the color here so you guys can actually see it better. The difference in sound is you just feel that there's more authority in the T4 Plus by the nature of its diaphragm, but both are equally detailed up top. Great sense of air, of 3D-ness in both of them, and you can see by the graph it's almost identical. Okay, next one is the C2. Take this one out. So next, C2, again almost identical graph as you can see, and although the bass graphs the same, and let me just change the color. Although it seems that the bass graphs the same, no, it doesn't. It doesn't have the same kind of thickness of engagement of the bass, but you're looking at the graph and you would almost say it's the same driver, same speaker, same earphone. It's the same thing, and it's not. There is definitely a difference in the sound. And then finally the C3. Again, a more very similar in the bass, very similar in both the way it's textured and lushness and body of it, very similar. Again, it's the extension up top. Okay, and this brings me to show you now the following. So this is the C3. This is the, no, sorry, no, I don't want this one. I want the, yes, the T3 Plus, and I want the Oranos. Okay, these three make a very similar group in terms of their sound. Although you see here in black the C3 as the one that apparently has the most extension up top, no, it doesn't. It's not, doesn't pan out that way. They all have a very similar style of tuning, and they all sound very similar. I personally think the C2, the C3 and the Oranos are better options over this the T3 Plus. You know, they're slightly edged out. Okay, so that's the one group, and then the other group is the group comprised of the T4 Plus, the T2 DLC, and the C2. Again, you can see these three have a very similar style of tuning. Okay, and when I now impose as well the other, you'll understand that there's definitely a difference between these two groups. One group has got very this group, let's call it group A, it's got this dip there in the 5K area, and then the extension past 10K is minimal. The other group has got no dip. They basically maintain themselves nice and flat, be it the T4, be it the T2 DLC, or be it the C2. You can see they have the dip past 8K and great extension past 10K. And again, they have their own particular kind of signature and sound. Anyway, guys, hope you like this one. As always, like and subscribe. Any questions, please holler at me, and I'll do my best to reply as quickly as possible. Okay, have a great one. Take care. Bye bye.